Welcome to Synchronize Swatches, your twice monthly dose of coolness. I'm your host, Chris Gregory. Wait a minute. No, I'm not. Chip Johnson.
And I'm the other guy, Chris Gregory.
Every other week, we watch an episode of the cult classic 90s sitcom Parker Lewis Can't Lose, and then we record ourselves talking about it.
It's time for Operation Record the Podcast. Are you ready?
I don't even know what's going on.
Clearly. A joke that's only funny to us because we're the ones with the copy in front of us.
Gentlemen, synchronize swatches. Not a problem.
I've never liked you, Lewis.
Not a problem.
Ignorant?
Clean out your locker. You're finished.
My mom was talking about listening to a string of our episodes. Mm-hmm. And I asked her if she had watched the show at all, any of the episodes of the show. And she said she hadn't. I was like, well, the episodes of the show are linked. I showed her where they are on YouTube.
Yeah.
Since we have playlists of all the episodes on our YouTube account for you to watch. For the purposes of bringing a new person in to watch this who's never seen Parker Lewis before, I was just thinking earlier today, what episode would I recommend they start with, or what couple of episodes? Because I wouldn't necessarily say to get a feel for what from what we've done so far. I mean, so we're halfway through season 1. Yeah. And if somebody was to ask, well, where should I start? Which one should I start with to get a feel, or what 2 episodes should I start with to get a feel for the show based on what you've watched or what we've covered so far? Does anything leap out to you, like 1 or 2 episodes
of the show, not the podcast, right?
Right. Yeah. The actual, if say they wanted to listen, but they're like, I've never seen the show, so you say, well, try this one, watch this one because it's the best one, or it's got the most Parker Lewis Can't Losiness to it, and it'll give you a feel for what you're in for watching the show.
I mean, Saving Grace is a good one.
Yeah.
Though it's pulling Grace out of her, antagonist role.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is not the greatest example of the average show.
Right.
But as far as the humor and the style, I think that's a good one.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe like Operation Kubiak.
Yeah.
That might be a good one to start with because it's light. It's a fairly light one. It's funny, and then but then you get all the characters behaving in their
normal.
Yeah,
mode,
kind of like in their molds or whatever.
Yeah.
Plus, you get to see Grace's hair smoking while she's so fucking angry.
Yes,
which is just a great scene. But
holding up the newspapers.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
So see,
that's a great one. No, Operation Kubiak. Yeah. I mean, that was like episode 2. And it was already off and running. So that's definitely a great one. Actually, probably start with that one, and then maybe Saving Grace, in that order, might actually be a better suggestion. Yeah,
that would give. I feel like somebody watching those 2 would determine pretty quickly whether or not they would want to continue watching.
Yeah, Deja Dudes is pretty good too, though.
Yeah.
Again, kind of steps out of the mold because you're spending a lot of time with the older Lewis, Marty Lewis, but it's still got a lot of the typical Parker Lewis gags and humor. So,
that'd be a good one too. So basically, if you have an hour,
you
got an hour, you want to watch Parker Lewis and get an idea for what this show is like and whether or not you want to give it a shot. You go with Operation Kubiak and then Deja Dudes and or Saving Grace next.
Yeah,
but those 3, I think those 3 would probably be a pretty good representation. I think that of the ones we haven't gotten to yet, also the 3rd episode that has Dr. Pankow in it, the one where he's wooing Grace. That one. I watched
that was great too.
I watched that one last weekend, and I was like, "This one was really good." It's got a lot of it's got a lot of really good stuff in it. So
I love that one too. I think I love anything with Pankow, but that's a great one. And that one's later season 1 actually. Episode 18, I think, or something. I watched that a couple weeks ago too. All right. Well, those are our suggestions. If anybody is not familiar with the show, those are our recommendations to get a feel.
I know a commercial break is a long time, but you've got to try and remember.
We're here today to discuss season 1, episode 15, entitled Heather the Class. a play on the term head of the class and also Heathers. Have you ever seen Heathers?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I've never seen it, so.
What?
Yeah. As soon as you said that, like that, I was like, oh, this is going to be great.
I'm going to cut in that whoa sound effect.
Yeah, there you go.
Really, dude? You've never seen Heathers?
No.
Dude. Oh. I mean, you got to see it. It's like, classic dark comedy. I mean, it's so up our alley, man, because it's just.
I don't know, but
so
sure.
fucked up. Do what?
I said I don't know, but yeah, that's cool.
No, I'm saying
one of
like
those ones,
our humor and like I just feel like knowing you, it's like fuck, dude, you have to see Heathers, man. Holy shit!
One of these days, it's just one of those ones that fell through the cracks. I'm sure. So
it's on the server. You got no excuse.
Okay. Well,
it's available to you.
I will watch it then. Yeah. So. So this episode is entitled Heather the Class. The German episode title is Hyper Snobs, which I think just translates directly into Hyper Snobs.
Yeah, it's quite a word.
Yeah. Hyper Snobs. There's some pronunciation for you. Original air date, January 13th, 1991. The director of this episode is our old friend Max Tash. This is his 5th episode directing. The last one was season 1, episode 12, Science Fair. He also did Power Play and Loves a Beast and Musso and Frank. All excellent episodes, I would say.
Yeah.
This one is written by the writing team of Alan Cross and Tom Speziali. I guess that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
If it's not, just edit in like a Google thing saying it.
The Google pronunciation.
Cut that whole fucking part right there from insulting this man's name. Jesus Christ. This is starting off great. So this is this is their second episode writing together. The first one being episode 3, Power Play. So let's get going. Here's my episode synopsis. Shelly Lewis is a Vogue. Parker's sister has leveled up her social status, joining an elite cadre of Flamingos who run the hallways of Santo Domingo through fear and manipulation. But at what cost? While the best buds struggle to help the school's star wrestler, Larry Kubiak, make weight in time for the upcoming state championships, Parker must also race to save his sister's soul.
like she has one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So our credits gag. The best buds are together playing Pictionary in Parker's bedroom. I like the way that this is shot from the opposite side of the Pictionary board, so you can see Parker writing on it or drawing the pictures. And
it's a great device. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mikey and Jerry are behind him trying to guess what he's drawing, and they're just guessing all kinds of different animals and whatnot. And each time he grows frustrated with his inability to convey what he's trying to convey, he rips the sheet of paper away, and that's our swipe to title cards. So in the first segment, Shelly enters the room in the back, and she's just watching as the two guys puzzle over whatever the solution is. So finally, after many awful guesses, Parker draws something that sort of resembles an imp a little bit, I thought.
Yeah.
And after guessing, Jerry guesses some kind of demon, the devil, and Satan. He finally blurts out, Shelly! And they all celebrate his success, and Shelly's comes running up and tears off the sheet, and that's how we cut to the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
She's very offended, and rightly so.
Yeah. Essentially drawing her as a demon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because as he's drawing this imp demon thing, like Jerry's saying, a demon, Satan, and Parker's like, he's giving that gesture of like, you're getting close, yes. And finally, like, Shelly.
I kind of felt bad for her in that scene. I always feel bad for Shelly.
Yeah.
Even though she's, she's the little sister pain in the butt or whatever. I always feel bad for her because I don't know. I feel protective of her because she's so small, I guess. I don't know. But as we'll find out, she can handle her own.
Yes.
We open in the hallway of Santo Domingo High School, and the hallway is filled with high winds, thunder, and lightning. And students are running and falling on the ground, and papers are blowing all over the place. And Parker, Mikey, and Jerry stand in the middle of the hallway, facing down whatever malevolent force is approaching.
Sirs, I'm going to the bear.
Only one thing generates this kind of panic. The cruelest, most vicious gang ever to terrorize Santo Domingo. The Vogues, undisputed rulers of Santo Domingo's social scene. Gossiping, cold-blooded power snobs.
And as they walk past, the storm dissipates. And then, in my favorite shot of the entire fucking series so far,
yes,
we see Jerry standing there with his bear, and suddenly Frank Limmer appears behind him out of thin air. And there's like this 1950s style sci-fi beam-in sound effect when it happens.
Yeah.
And Jerry's like clutches his heart in surprise when he sees Frank standing there, because Frank just starts talking directly behind him, you know. So Frank's there to warn Parker that Shelly is the target of an impending Vogue act of humiliation, and he recommends Parker be there when it happens so that he can pick up the pieces. And then he phases out again, and nobody seems to be all that concerned about the fact that he just phased out, because Mikey's like shouting that he'll be there and he'll even bring popcorn, you know? Like this must just be a normal occurrence with Frank, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess we've seen him do it a couple of times, but at this point,
I think he's done it once before so far, right?
Yeah. So, despite himself, Parker decides he needs to warn Shelly. So, we cut to Shelly's locker, and Shelly and Annie, played by Tiffany Brissett, who was Vicky the Robot in Small Wonder. I think that's what she's best known for. And that was a sitcom in the 80s where she played like a young child, but she was a robot. Was she like the not the butler? Was she like the maid or something? Or am I conflating her with Rosie?
She had some rosy tendencies. No, well, she was like their adopted daughter, right? But she did do a lot of house cleaning, I think.
Yeah.
I think there was definitely some child labor stuff going on there.
Yeah. Yeah. This is why for all the talk of like being careful with AI and stuff, like bots are eventually going to just take us out, because this is what we do with bots. You know, it's like, you're a sentient robot. Why don't you grab this fucking feather duster and
go do my dishes?
Yeah, go do the dishes while we're all sleeping, because you don't need to sleep.
Yes.
It's funny. I used to use a picture of Vicky the Robot as my avatar on a message board 20 years ago, but it was a picture of her with no hair. I don't know what was going on in the episode.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Just a bald Vicky. It's so weird looking.
What a goofy show.
Yeah, totally ridiculous. So Shelly and Annie are talking about Mr. Loopman giving them a hard time for laughing in class. And Shelly asks how she's supposed to not laugh when Annie makes that silly face, which Annie then does again. And they both laugh. And then she leaves, telling Shelly she'll save her a seat in the lunchroom. And then when Shelly closes her locker door, we see that Parker's been standing behind it the whole time. And he tells Shelly there is something she should know. And Shelly produces a piece of paper, an invitation to meet up with a boy, I think. I think that's what's going on there. So Parker tells her it's a trick, and that there is nothing the Vogues like to do more than bag some poor, unsuspecting dork. Surprisingly, though, Shelly agrees, calling Parker Mr. Dork before summoning two large football players who snatch Parker, flip him upside down, and hang him from the loudspeaker in the hallway. And then Shelly approaches and covers him with silly string. And then the Vogues move in, and it's revealed that Shelly has set Parker up as an initiation prank. Shelly is a Vogue.
My question here is, because Frank beamed in with that info, was Frank in on this too, or was he just fed misinformation by the Vogues?
I think the first time I watched it, I thought he was just, being used as a dupe. But I think if we know anything about Frank, like it's never addressed, he never comes back like, anything like that. But I think if we know anything about Frank, it's that he would probably totally be into doing this. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's never covered, but it's just one of those thoughts I had. I'm like, was he in on it, or did they feed him? Did they just use him as a pawn? And give him misinformation?
Don't know. It could go either way, I think. It's kind of a Frank light episode too. I don't think he's in very many scenes, unfortunately. But just the best one. So the Vogues approach and take pictures of Parker, and they're laughing, and then they initiate Shelly right in front of him as he's hanging there upside down. The head Vogue, whose name is Jamie, is portrayed by Michelle Abrams. She was in Troll 2 and Cool World and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie. I'm not sure if I've seen Troll 2, I think. I know I've seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't know that I recognize her though from any of those things.
Well, here's the thing. I looked up her IMDb too. I mean, I saw your credits here, but I looked her up because I was like, I feel like I've seen her. I know her from something else. Mm-hmm. And I could not find a single thing that I would have known her from besides Buffy, and I probably haven't seen the movie version probably since it came out.
Right. Yeah.
And Cool World was a freaking cartoon, right? So
That's
she
true,
would just be
yeah.
a voice actor. And
That's
Troll
true.
2 wasn't Troll 2. Wasn't that? It's like completely unrelated. It's actually not a sequel, but they just called it Troll 2 when they.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those horror movie things where like they have another movie called something else, and they're like, "Well, Troll was a good one. Let's just call this Troll 2."
Yeah,
and it has nothing to do with.
I think you're right. I think I've heard
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
and I think this is the one that's just fucking nutso. I need to look it up again. I may be misremembering. I don't want to misspeak, but there's one that's just fucking balls to the wall nuts, and I think it's Troll 2.
Yeah. I should also say here that like when we mention the guest actors on this show, I feel like a lot of times I'm like, I haven't seen that or I don't recognize this person. That's really more like a commentary on my limited, pop culture experience with some things as opposed to like anything having to do with the actor, you know?
Oh no, 100%. Yeah.
Most of the time I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know? So, so the head Vogue, Jamie, is swearing Shelly in, and she presents her with a black headband. And then they all formalize the agreement with a round of air kisses as we dissolve to commercial break. I assume commercial break. It's very early in the episode, but
it was a mosaic dissolve, so I think it was. Yeah.
So returning from the break, Parker's still hanging upside down, but Jerry and Mikey are there to rescue him. Jerry climbs a ladder. I don't know why I just said rescue. Did you hear that?
Rescue? Yeah, I did.
What the?
I was gonna let it slide.
I'm not. They're there to rescue him. Rescue. Jesus. All right.
What accent is that?
I don't know, man. It's like Maine or something. Like, hi, he's here to rescue him.
Yes. Some fishermen up in Maine.
Yeah. He's here to rescue him. Jerry climbs a ladder. So Jerry climbs this ladder.
Remembers?
Yeah. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Oh, God.
All right.
Man, we are.
Cut the bullshit, man.
Yeah. We're
burning-
struggling on this episode. Oh, God.
Okay, let me see if I can speed this up a little bit. Jerry climbs the ladder and uses a pair of gardening shears to cut Parker Lewis. I always love it when they use like gardening shears as like oversized scissors or whatever. But because he's held up by his laces. You don't really need
shoelaces.
shears, but yeah. So Parker then miraculously lands on his feet, and Mikey points that out in admiration. But before they can really celebrate, Miss Musso and Frank arrive to spoil the moment with surveillance photos, which is like their favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, I know.
Not this time, Lewis. Frank? Surveillance photos.
Steiner feeding Kubiak a 14-pound smoked ham, Randall giving him 60 pepperoni pizzas, and Parker serving up a leg of lamb.
These are a few of my favorite things.
My favorite line in this fucking episode.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a really good read. It's hilarious.
Yes. These are a few of my favorite things.
Yeah. So Miss Musso chastises them for treating Kubiak like some kind of eating machine. But her motivation is not based on concern for his health or anything. It's as he steps on the scale, she explains that the school will be hosting the state wrestling championship that weekend, and Kubiak is their best chance of winning. However, he won't be able to compete because he is too large even for the heavyweights, and this is demonstrated by the scale spinning and spinning and spinning, and then the face explodes off the front of it. I gotta say that you have to be very large to be too big for the heavyweights, because when I was in high school and I was wrestling in like 185, 190, whatever, the higher weight classes. Mm-hmm. And they used to stick me with heavyweights in practice because there weren't a lot of guys in my weight class.
Okay.
It's basically like 195 or something like that and up. You know, it's like that's heavyweights. So they must have been concerned about Kubiak killing somebody or something. He's too big even for heavyweights. But I love the fact that, like, right after she says that, he looks over and he's like, "I'm a big boy."
Another great read. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Miss Musso tells the buds, "You beefed him up, you slim him down." And she produces another surveillance photo of the buds lounging around at the beach with a bunch of bikini-clad girls, which she says she will show their parents if they fail. And then Parker announces Operation Low Fat Larry. So we cut to the hallway. Shelly and the Vogues are walking through the hallway as Jamie explains how to be a Vogue.
Don't act so friendly. You're a Vogue now. There's certain things you need to learn. For instance, selective socialization. You remember your old friends? Sure. Don't. They're history. The Vogues are everyone's friend. Even the people we hate think we're their friends. We just don't tell them. It's more fun that way. When we attack someone, we do it discreetly, with rumor and innuendo. If they listen for us, we cannot be heard. If they look for us, we cannot be seen. You've heard of Kung Fu? Same idea.
So they arrive at Shelly's locker, and they open the door and present her with a newly installed makeup mirror and automatic drawers housing makeup kits. She is then given her official Vogue makeover. And after a quick time lapse that kind of looked like the transition in Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
We see the made up Shelly and the Vogues all celebrate with a round of air kisses. And Shelly announces, "I bet this is what my wedding day will feel like." Which is great. She's so excited. So we cut to Jerry's locker, I think it's Jerry's locker.
Yeah, I think so.
And the buds are preparing Kubiak's noon feeding.
Yeah, I like that. The way they talk about his feedings, the noon feeding, the 2 p.m. feeding, like he's a fucking dog.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like he's some kind of livestock or something.
Yes, noon feeding.
Yeah. So what they're feeding him is a large pink smoothie. And in voiceover, Parker explains that the liquid diet worked for football and commentator Dan Deerdorf. This is me adding explanation here. Because he just says it worked for Deerdorf, it worked for Lasorda, and it worked for Oprah. And then he says, well, it worked for Deerdorf and Lasorda, which I made a note here. That's a savage bit of 80s Oprah fat shaming.
Yes.
So yeah, they're talking about Dan Deerdorf, the former football player and commentator, who I think was pitching Slim Fast. Actually, I think Tommy Lasorda pitched Slim Fast as well.
Yeah, I think they were both Slim Fast, and it's funny because like I never knew who Deerdorf was, but like you know how I've got this Plex server set up with all my old like the Cheers episodes and Seinfeld episodes, and like kind of recreated this live TV, like you turn it on, something's gonna be on like Cheers or Seinfeld or A-Team or something like that, and I'm, in between the episodes, I've got all these old ass 80s commercials, and the Dan Deerdorf Slim Fast one is one of those.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's one of those commercials that comes up every once in a while.
Yeah, I do remember the Tommy Lasorda ones. He was just for background, he was the longtime manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, but he was a fairly large man.
Yes,
so. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so a little bit of dunking on Oprah here, which is it's funny because like I remember that, but like you don't hear that much these days because she'd probably have you destroyed.
Yeah, she's too powerful now.
Yeah. So okay, so before feeding the smoothie to Kubiak, which Jerry describes as Trey Smoothie, sir, Mikey expresses this concern about how Kubiak will react physically to the smoothie. He says, legend has it that he once ate a freshman. And then we cut to this shot of Kubiak's face, which I thought was hilarious. The look on his face is just really funny. It's like, So they decide to hide behind the lockers. And Kubiak downs the entire smoothie. And we get this shot of the inside of his stomach. And we see the freshman sitting there inside his stomach at a desk. And then he's just absolutely drenched with the incoming smoothie. And Kubiak finishes it, and he approves of the smoothie. And the three buds jump out and start dancing in the hallway.
Yes, the freshman in the stomach gag—that's my favorite gag of the episode.
It's so goofy.
It's so stupid. Yeah. And there's another callback to it later too.
Yeah, I thought the dance sequence there was really goofy too.
Goofy, it was totally goofy.
Music. Yeah. Had like a vaudeville feel to it or something.
Yeah, some old timey music playing, and they're like,
that's so goofy. So we cut to the school office, and in there, Annie is handing out teddy bear invitations for her birthday party to Shelly and the other Vogues. Which I got to say, come on, Annie.
No, I know, but
you got to read the fucking room.
Yeah,
maybe Shelly, but why are you doing this to yourself?
You're in fucking high school.
Yeah. I know. And even if you want to hold on to that part of you or something, don't go give them to the fucking Vogues. You know who they are.
Come on. Yeah. Ricky move, man. I agree.
Yeah. I felt so bad for her. She and Shelly reminisce about Annie's previous birthday party where they played Gnip Gnop for M&Ms.
And Gnip Gnop. I had to look this up. I've always heard the term Gnip Gnop, but just in random references. And I was finally like, I gotta fucking look up what Ganip Ganop is. Like, I have no idea what this is. So it was like some Parker Brothers game, like where you had little balls that you would like shoot into your opponent's side, like some plastic case.
Yeah. You were expecting something like Parcheesi, because that's what I was expecting. Some fucking game marketed as like, from the Orient or some shit.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be, not just using little paddles to shoot balls into your opponent's side of the box.
After I saw that, I looked at the name and I'm like, oh, it's ping pong backwards. Okay, well, I'm a fucking idiot.
It is ping pong backwards.
What the fuck? It sounds very Parcheesi.
Yeah.
So the Vogues all look quite horrified by these invitations, and Shelly. They're horrified by Shelly's response. Talking about the Ganip Ganop for M&Ms. So they all look horrified, and Shelly recognizes this and changes her tone, and she sarcastically says, "Yeah, lots of fun." And Annie is hurt by this, and she turns and leaves. And then the Vogues, including Shelly, proceed to shred the invitations in the office shredder, which is overkill. And then Parker appears at this moment and suggests to Jamie that she is late for her 2:00 character assassination. And she apologizes for not recognizing him since he is no longer upside down. And he says, "Sorry, I don't socialize with cats." It's dumb. And then it's funny because he turns around and he's face to face with one of the other ones, and you get this cat sound effect, like, and then he does like this little claw thing with his hands, like.
It's so goofy.
It's a strange sequence. When he leaves, Shelly's like, "Do you want me to kick him?" I can,
I can. He's my brother.
He's my brother. Which I thought it was funny. I was like, it's very Shelly to be like, can I kick him? But Jamie says she has other ideas, and the Vogues huddle up. So back in the hallway, Kubiak is downing another smoothie, but when he finishes this one, it's funny because the shot's from overhead, and so it's way up there because it's Kubiak. But when he finishes, he grabs Parker by the shoulder and he whimpers, "Feed me," which made me laugh. And Parker tells him to relax. He says his next feeding is only 4 hours away. And then the buds take off, and Kubiak, distraught, leans against the locker and slowly slides down to the floor. And then this is one of my favorite sequences in this whole fucking.
It's pretty good.
It's so weird, and it's funny. I mean, it's just strange. So beside his head is a paper cup, and we hear like this chiming sound, like you would hear with an announcement over a loudspeaker.
Yeah,
and there's this voice that requests that he report to the faculty dining room immediately. And then we pull out and we see Jamie is on the other end of this paper cup telephone thing.
With the string between two cups. Yeah.
She's like 2 feet away from him. She's not even like down the hall. It's like he's here and she's like right here, right next to him. So we cut to the faculty dining room, and Larry enters and says hello, and then finds a large spread of food. As he staggers further into the room, the Vogues sneak up behind and lock the door. He turns around, he tries desperately at the door handle, and he feels around trying to find any way to open it or remove the door, I would assume.
Yeah, it looks like he's about to grab it and like rip it off the hinges like he normally does, but like he's kind of like looking for a good handhold.
Yeah. And then it's funny because he sort of turns again slowly and looks at the food. And then he's got a really sad look on his face, but he makes this really funny lamenting look where he's just like, "Oh." And then he smacks his lips too. He's like, and then he walks over and he's like towering over the table because he's looking at it, and it's just like a full spread of food, right? And so he's like towering over the thing, just looking down at it.
My note here was, I was just like, poor guy. He was trying to be good, and that, like you say, that look on his face when he's like about to rip the door off, but then he has that final look back at the food, and he's just like, it's just like he knows he's a slave to his appetite, man. And he can't fight it. Poor guy.
Out in the kitchen, the cafeteria kitchen, Miss Musso is leading a scrum of sports reporters through the kitchen. She explains how happy she is to have the press there, and how they have prepared a buffet in their honor. And I love that, like at the end of this scene, the last guy in there is just like, "Will there be Gatorade?"
I know. I love that line. It's just like, that's what he cares about, is fucking Gatorade. And there is Gatorade.
So we cut back into the dining room, the faculty dining room. and all the reporters have filed in, and they're all staring at horror at something on the floor. Miss Musso enters, assuring them that there will be Gatorade. But to her horror, she finds Kubiak on the floor, and the table is absolutely wrecked behind him. And he's licking his lips in satisfaction. And he's just like the kid he's trying to look like Santa Claus with pillows stuffed in their shirt. He's got a massive belly at this point. And then he lets loose with a very subdued hiccup, I thought. It wasn't like an earth-shattering hiccup, but it is a glass-shattering hiccup because the glass in the door behind them explodes.
Well, I took it as it was her anger.
You think?
Yeah.
Did she yell?
That's how I took it. Because like he just hiccups and then she's just like, and it, like she doesn't make a noise, but she's just like, and the glass shatters and because she cuts back and looks, looks at it, and it's like I feel like it was, I mean, because it's always Musa that shatters it, right? Like, granted, Kubiak causes earthquakes and shit, but I think in this particular case, I think it was unrelated to the hiccup. I think it was Miss Musso's like anger at the situation.
Yeah, it may have been. It's just
I don't
the way
know. That was how I took it.
So yeah, it happened
until I saw your note. Yeah,
it happens like bang bang, like there's a hiccup and then the thing shatters. But it could be either way. It would make more sense, I guess, continuity wise, if she was the cause of it. But you're wrong. It was the hiccup.
Case closed.
Yeah. I'm doing the recap. It was the fucking hiccup.
Fans, write in. What do you think?
It was the hiccup. Fans.
Are you team Chris or team Chip?
Are you team hiccup or team angry Musa?
Man.
Nobody's going to.
No,
nobody's
they don't care. Nobody's listening.
Yeah, they stopped a long time ago. They're like, this one's going long, I can tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we're back in the locker room. Kubiak is weighing in again, and the scale slowly passes 100, 200, 300 pounds before settling on whoa, which is written on the scale.
Yep.
And Parker explains in voiceover that there has been a 30-pound setback, with Kubiak in the background, suspended in the air by one of those harnesses they use to transport killer whales. I love that because he's just hanging there. He's not responding or anything. He's just hanging.
It's great.
Lewis, you've got 24 hours.
Not a problem.
How could the big guy just fall off the wagon like that?
He didn't fall, Mikey. He was pushed. And I know just who did it.
We cut to the hallway. Shelly and Jamie lead the Vogues down the hallway, and Annie steps in front of them, holding her shredded invitations out for Shelly to see, like a whole handful of the shredded invitations. Yeah. She asks Shelly what's going on, why she isn't sitting with her or talking to her anymore, and she asks if they're even still friends. And after a long pause, Shelly says, "Guess not."
What a bitch.
And Annie runs away. Yeah, that's a total bitch move. Guess not. So Parker, Mikey, and Jerry witness this scene, and Parker explains that Annie is the only friend Shelly ever really had. This time, she's crossed a line. So Shelly's back at her locker, and she's primping in this mirror that's being held by a kneeling student beside her. And Parker confronts her about the way she's acting. But Shelly thinks he's just jealous because now she's more popular than him. He says that she doesn't belong with the Vogues, that they're bad news. Shelly says she knows what she's doing. She dismisses the girl with the mirror, the one leaning down in front of her.
Yeah, it's because it's that like little run along now, like that little like hand gesture. Run along now.
It's very dismissive.
Very dismissive.
She says that before she joined the Vogues, no one knew who she was. She says that when they leave high school, no one is going to remember who Annie was, but that isn't going to happen to her because she's a Vogue. The next scene, we're in Mondo Video, and I guess it's night. It looks like it's night outside. It's after closing hours, which is strange too, because like, does she sneak to Mondo Video? Where do they live in relation to Mondo Video? Do they?
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Over the course of this scene, especially towards the end, I was like, what is she? Why is she doing this? And how is she there?
Unless she sneaks out of the house, breaks into Mondo Video, probably has the keys.
Yeah.
To get candy because there's candy there.
Yeah.
And then sneaks back home to have her midnight candy snack.
Yeah.
That's probably what happens.
Yeah, because so she's in Mondo Video after hours, I guess I should say. Yeah. And she's rifling through the candy display, and Parker's explaining through voiceover that it's time to launch I think it's actually Operation Hocus Bogus. I know I wrote Hocus Pocus at first on my notes, but when I was watching it again tonight, I'm pretty sure he says Operation Hocus Bogus.
Oh, so, that would make sense.
Write in whether you're Team Chris or Team Chip, because Chip clearly said it's Hocus Pocus.
No, wait a minute.
I said Hocus Bogus, and I'm right. Team Chip is wrong.
We're on the same side.
Team Chris. Okay, anyway. So the monitors throughout the store come to life with an image of Parker's face, this shit-eating grin of Parker's face. He's saying hello to Shelly from each of these monitors, and she's clearly disoriented by this. And she tries to leave, but the doors lock themselves. And it's home video time as Parker introduces the Shelly Lewis story. And we get a series of home movies showing Annie and Shelly as young kids. In the first one, they're celebrating a birthday party, and a young Jerry comes running over and gets his face shoved into the cake. So the next scene we get is Shelly and Annie operating a lemonade stand, very old-fashioned style. This time, Jerry comes over and they dump all the lemonade on his head. It's just like, what?
Poor Jerry.
You're dumping your product on him, and he eeks and everything.
Yeah.
So then the next shot is Annie and Shelly like walking down the sidewalk, sharing a jacket, like wearing the same oversized jacket. And they're playing in the yard, and then Jerry comes running over, so they climb on top of it and start beating on him. Lots of heartwarming scenes. Two young girls and their friendship rooted in torturing Jerry.
Yes. Best foundation for a relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And Parker is providing narration over all of this, reminding Shelly of the good times and what solid friends she and Annie have always been because their friendship was based on equality. And when this is over, the doors unlock and magically open, and then Shelly runs out. So we cut to the hallway at the school, I presume the next day. So Mikey and Parker are standing guard as Jerry uses a stethoscope to crack Kubiak's locker combination. Parker informs us through VO that the only way to keep Kubiak from eating is to steal his lunch, which seems extremely dangerous.
Yes.
given everything we've seen on this show ever.
Yeah.
The locker door opens and the camera cuts to Kubiak in a communal shower. He's wearing a little hairnet or whatever, a little shower cap.
Shower cap, yeah.
Scrubbing, whatever. And so when the door opens, he sniffs the air, sensing the disturbance, and he lets loose this monstrous howl. And he shuts off the shower and rips off his shower cap, and then throws on his towel, and then the camera pulls out, and we see that he's literally showering with cows. There's two cows in the stalls next to him, also being cleaned. There's actually cow shit on the floor, I noticed too. It's just fucking gross. But
I did not see it.
There's a big old pile on the ground.
That's what you get with cows.
Yeah, or Kubiak. Could have been cool, I guess. Gross. So we see Kubiak running across the campus in his robe, and Miss Musso is standing there enjoying a spot of tea, and she comments to Frank that Kubiak looks thinner.
And I love the way Frank is holding the plate of finger sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
He's like this fancy, like holding this plate like this.
Yeah, resting it on the tip of his fingers and
fingers,
like a butler.
Yes, so perfect.
Yeah. So Kubiak arrives at his burgled locker and discovers that the lunch bag is missing.
Lunch bag gone. Ding dong's gone. Raison d'etre gone.
That actually might be my favorite line of this one, actually.
It's a good
More
one,
so than
man.
a few of my favorite things, just because it's so fucking great coming from Kubiak.
Yeah. He then has this hallucination of a talking refrigerator in this void space. It's taunting him and beckoning him, and there's lots of nice product placement in there.
Yeah.
And then in a very confusing turn, he wakes up and he's like sitting in the hallway with clothes on, just like leaning against the railing, which was strange. Yeah. I don't know what the transition was supposed to be there, but
I don't know.
He went from like robed in the hallway by his locker to sitting there fully clothed, waking up. So I don't know.
Yeah.
He entered a fugue state, I guess.
Yeah.
So
that talking fridge led him on a killing spree, and he's
yeah, those cows are fucking dead. He ate them. So while he's sitting there, his stomach begins to growl, and we get another shot of the inside with the freshman still in there, experiencing the rumbling like an earthquake. So we cut to Parker Central, and we see that they're monitoring him with cameras. And Jerry's detected Kubiak's revival because he announces a grazing alert. And they run through a checklist of preventative measures, confirming that the cafeteria is locked and the vending machines are all empty. But then Jerry reveals that he forgot to padlock the dumpsters. He slaps his forehead and asks how they put up with him, and Parker says, "You're a bud." So like, aw, good old Jerry. So over by Shelly's locker, the Vogues have a plan to get back at Parker, and they want Shelly to help. So then we're in this classroom, and we see Coob's face through an aquarium, and he's admiring the fish in there and licking his lips, clearly imagining fish sticks. From his point of view, we see the Vogues appear on the other side of the aquarium, and they tell Kubiak that Parker and his friends have been sabotaging his weight loss.
You know that liquid diet Jerry's been feeding you? Bogus. He's been slipping you the high-calorie stuff.
Steiner? No, Jerry would never do that.
Ask Shelly. She saw him do it. Didn't you, Shelly?
Yeah.
Jerry's been drinking this stuff for years, trying to get big and strong like you. I guess the little guy was jealous.
Just think. Because of Jerry, you've missed, what, 17 meals?
17 meals.
17 meals you'll never get back. How incredibly cruel. Here you are suffering, and Jerry's off somewhere having a good laugh.
Yeah, my note here was Jamie coming in with some real psychology here, because it's like, it's not enough to say they betrayed you. It's like, I got to put it in your terms. You have lost out on 17 meals. 17 meals you will never get back.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I didn't notice that.
You will never get these meals back, Larry.
Yeah.
They are gone forever.
Yeah. Not that you've been stabbed in your back.
No, that doesn't matter.
Get to eat those 17 meals.
Yeah. Jamie's good at the mind fucks, man.
Absolutely.
She knows psychology.
Yeah. And she's got that other girl repeating her lines behind her, which is funny too. She's like real hype man mode at that point.
Yes.
So they tell Kubiak that Jerry is off having a laugh at his expense over by the dumpsters. So Kubiak that's where you go to have a laugh, is over by the dumpsters. Yes. So Kubiak pounds his fist and takes off. And Shelly turns to Jamie and says she thought they were going after Parker. But Jamie tells her that once Parker sees what Kubiak does to Jerry, he'll know to stay out of Vogue business, which is fucking grim.
Yes.
Once he murders Jerry and eats his corpse,
he'll know not to fuck with us.
Yeah. So Shelly expresses concern that Jerry is going to get hurt, and this is when Jamie starts to question Shelly's commitment. And she tells her that if she doesn't line up, the Vogues will make sure she spends the next 4 years at Santo Domingo as a geek. And Shelly backs down. So we're over by the dumpsters, and Jerry is padlocking the last dumpster when Shelly approaches. And there's something I left out of my notes here. I forgot. There's a funny visual gag where after he padlocks, he pulls a little wet wipe out of his jacket.
Yep.
And he tears it, and then he drops his trash to the ground, but it lands in a bucket.
Yes.
So what did the bucket say? Like recycle or something? I can't remember.
It says, please don't litter. Yeah, do not litter. So it's the fact that he has chain locked the dumpster, but he's like, okay, my hands are dirty and I need to use a wet wipe. And then the packaging for my wet wipe, I've got to throw away, but I don't want to waste it. So I've carried a trash can with me.
Yeah. And he just drops it, and it
he
falls
just drops it and it goes right
bucket.
in. Like,
yeah, it's great. It's a great shot.
It's a great gag.
So Shelly approaches him, and Jerry tells her that he missed her at Annie's party. He says they played Gnip for M&Ms. So Shelly asks him what he would do if Parker ever asked him to do something he knew wasn't right. And Jerry tells her that Parker would never put him in that position because Jerry is his friend. Parker looks out for Jerry, and he looks out for Shelly too, even if he wouldn't want to admit that. So we get a shot of the campus, and it's basically just Kubiak approaching ominously. Yeah. Back in Parker Central, Parker and Mikey relax into the couch, playing their Game Boys, casually pointing out the fact that Jerry should be back by now. So we cut back to the bleachers, and Jerry is actively attempting to avoid the irate Kubiak, who is trying to get at him like a bear. Shelly runs away, but she's immediately confronted by the Vogues, who ask her what she's doing. And back in Parker Central, Parker and Mikey realize it is time for Kubiak's 2 o'clock feeding. And then back, so there's a lot of cuts basically here.
Yeah, back and forth between Parker Central and the bleachers to build the tension.
Yeah, exactly. Jerry is underneath the bleachers now, just basically begging Kubiak to tell him what happened, basically, because he has no idea what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
But Kubiak is slowly dismantling the support structures, attempting to get at him. And Jerry is pleading with him, assuring him that he has no food, because he thinks Kubiak's just hungry because he missed his 2 o'clock feeding.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, and he produces an empty Pez dispenser as evidence of his lack of food. And the Vogues stand behind Kubiak, watching the scene and relishing their revenge. And Shelly suggests that Jerry has learned his lesson, but Jamie is not convinced. Kubiak accuses Jerry of sabotaging his diet, and Jerry pleads ignorance. And then Kubiak tears off a chunk of tube, and Jerry eeks. And that eek echoes out throughout the school and finds Parker and Mikey as they are standing in the locker room looking for Kubiak. And it's funny because, like, it's the school locker room, but if you look at the other people in there, they're all old. Like, not like our normal, like, oh, they're 30. I mean, like, the 2 guys that are in there are probably in their 50s or 60s.
Oh, I didn't pay attention to them. Yeah.
Yeah. I just happened to notice because, like, wait, are they at the Y? What's going on here?
Yeah, maybe it was some location that was, like a public gym or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there, but. Or there were just grown-ass men at the high school locker room.
Just some creepazoids hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. But Mikey and Parker catch wind of this eek, and they turn to each other and say, Jerry's in trouble. And they take off to help. So back at the bleachers, Parker and Mikey arrive and call for a timeout. The presence of the Vogues indicates to Parker that something is amiss, and he tells Kubiak that there has to have been a mistake. Jamie announces that Jerry has been feeding Kubiak weight gain powder in his smoothies, and Parker tells Kubiak that's crazy. Kubiak says that Shelly saw him do it, and everyone turns their attention to Shelly, and Kubiak bellows, well, did he? There's a nice little echo on that as well.
Echo, yeah.
Yeah.
Great effect.
It's all a lie.
Shelly, are you creating a situation, Miss Soon-to-be Nobody?
I guess so. Jerry didn't sabotage your diet, Larry. Jamie put me up to it.
Shelly's lying, aren't you, geek?
This is the sitch. I'm through with the Vogues. You are sick and twisted. You go too far. You hurt people. I'm embarrassed that I ever wanted to be like you.
Fine. Okay. There are hundreds of girls ready to take your place in an instant.
She and the Vogues leave in a huff, and Parker turns to express his pride to Shelly, but she has already walked off. So we're back in the locker room. Kubiak is standing there in a robe, and he's on the scale again. The coach announces that he is still 2 pounds overweight. I think he's 342 pounds at this point. Miss Musso and Frank are in there, and Miss Musso says he hasn't lost any weight at all. But Parker suggests that Larry lose the robe. And Kubiak turns to him and whimpers.
Yes, this is great.
And I love that. He's like, ooh. And Miss Musso agrees to turn around and face the wall. And actually, Mikey then suggests that they all turn and face the wall. Just he's like, maybe we. The look on his face when he says it's really funny too. He's like, maybe we should all turn. But so Kubiak drops his robe, but there's still a pound and a half to lose. A half-pound robe. So with literally nothing left to lose, Kubiak turns to reveal a huge bulge in his cheek, and Parker tells him to lose the gum. And then Kubiak hawks it across the room, right past Miss Musso's head into a locker. And I realized the last time I watched that, it's a reverse shot because it's very strange the way she looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she turns, and then I realized it because if you look at the shot, you can see whatever residue was on the locker from the gum when it shot off is there before the gum hits it, Yeah. It's only there for a second, but then I was like, oh, that's why she looks kind of weird when she responds because it's all reversed,
Yeah.
So after he hawks this massive bulge of bubble gum against the wall, the scale drops the pound and a half, and we get the Columbia stinger again. Miss Musso excuses herself to go get prepped in hair and makeup for the press. I actually thought it was funny because like when she turns around, she has her hand up, but then proceeds to walk past Kubiak and drop her hand. she's like, maybe a little peek. I think actually he had robed himself.
Boy, he is a big boy.
Yeah. Right. That's unsettling. But it wouldn't be out of character for Miss Musso. He could have been on the basketball team leering at her. You don't know.
Yeah.
So she leaves to go get ready for the press. And Parker asks what Kubiak is going to do now. And he throws his hands up in the air and he says, I'm going to eat Disneyland. He hasn't accomplished anything
No.
from a competition standpoint. He
He's
hasn't
just
won
made
anything.
weight.
He just made weight, which is the least you're asked to do when you're wrestling. But that's fine.
And I like how the gum weighed more than the fucking robe.
Yeah, 3 times as much as the fucking robe.
A lot of gum.
So goofy. Yeah. So we're back in the hallway. Shelly's at her locker, and she finds it devoid of mirror and makeup. She turns and sees Annie, the most recent inductee into the Vogues, and Annie shoots her a dismissive look after Shelly smiles at her. Parker arrives and assures her that Annie won't be with them long because they aren't her friends. Shelly tells Parker that the next time she's in trouble, don't help. She can take care of herself. And Parker says, not a problem. And then in voiceover, he says his sister Shelly is a Spitfire, Santo Domingo's very own Hellcat. She may not be popular, but she's pretty unforgettable. And then he ends by suggesting that she may be adopted.
Of course.
Of course.
Can't be too heartwarming. It's your sister.
Yeah, exactly. That's as heartwarming as it gets on this show.
Yep.
So we go back to our credit gag reprise here. And this time Jerry's at the board drawing. And he draws a very rugged-looking character of Bart Simpson.
Yeah.
And Parker and Mikey are struggling to identify the character, which, come on, fellas.
Yeah.
As soon as he does
it's on the same network, guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's an evil-looking Bart Simpson. He's got sharp teeth, and his eyes look like cat's eyes and stuff. And no offense to Troy. I mean, and I know he was trying his best, but that is one evil-looking Bart Simpson. But yeah. So Parker and Mikey are struggling to figure it out. They recognize him as someone from TV, and then finally Parker blurts out, "Bill Cosby." It's a nice little meta reference there to The Simpsons being up against Bill Cosby, as we've mentioned before.
Exactly.
The end.
What have you got to say for yourselves?
It was a good one. I mean, it's your typical Heather's ripoff, but it's fun. Yeah, I was going to say. But for you, it's a brand new story.
Yeah, this is all an original story. We go watch this movie and be like, what a fucking ripoff of that episode of Parker Lewis.
But it was fun, and it's great to have a Shelly-centric episode.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
And Kubiak gives us plenty of great kind of puppy dog eyes, whimpering. Like there's just a lot of that in this episode.
Yeah. I like getting an episode with a. I mean, he's still a very tough character. I mean, he's he's intimidating as hell. But this is one of those ones. I mean, I know we've identified before. We have like erudite Koob, and we have dum dum Koob, and we have security Koob. And this one we have like. Fourth Bud Koob, basically, He's like at the end when they go to the weigh-in, he grabs Parker around the neck and drags him, but not in an aggressive way, in a buddy way, so.
Yeah. This is puppy dog Koob.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like a puppy. He's like destructive but like not meaning to be and playful and.
Yeah. I like the fact that this
sweet.
one gave Abe and Ruby more of a opportunity to be comedic.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of the stuff that I was talking about, a lot of the funny stuff he does is from him. It's partly it's the writing, but a lot of it's the acting. And just his choices.
The delivery, yeah.
I mean, there's just some really funny shit in there.
Yeah.
And I agree. It's nice to have another Shelly episode because it's been a little while since we had one, and I always like to see her get a chance to round her character out a little bit and not just be the pesky sister.
Yeah, totally.
So. Yeah, I enjoyed this one as well. Now I got to go watch the movie, so I'll get all the references.
Yeah.
On the next Synchronize Swatches.
Jerry's constantly submersing himself into computers, school, and various other forms of geekery. Now he's been immersing himself.
Sorry.
Now he's been immersing himself in video games and finds himself addicted. When Jerry starts slipping at everything else in his life, Parker and Mikey must get him back on the right track. The mission proves to be tricky, and Jerry circles the drain of failure.
The drain of failure.
God.
Good.
All right.
There's also, I'm not going to jump ahead to the episode, obviously, but I do like that there are so many Tiger handheld games in this one, too.
Yes.
Those are fucking great.
I had the Castlevania one of those.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just so basic, man.
Yeah.
I think I had that Tiger Castlevania game before I had a Game Boy. So it was just like, I'm playing this thing and being like, oh, this thing fucking sucks so bad.
Yeah.
I want a Game Boy.
Yeah, that's the thing that was so savage about him is I had a baseball one. And I remember like playing this fucking thing on road trips when you know that the Game Boy exists. That's like if it was pre-Game Boy, that's one thing. But it's like the thing exists and you're still sitting here with this fucking
the most primitive fucking thing.
thing, you know.
Oh God. Yeah.
Very thoughtful of our parents to buy us things like that though.
Yes.
We're very fortunate people.
Yes, we are. We're ingrates.
Yeah, pretty much.
Our parents spent their hard-earned money on these Tiger handheld games, thinking, "Oh, it's a video game.
Yeah,
Chip will love it." And then this fucking sucks.
Yeah, there's no way he'll go on to something called a podcast in his 40s and talk shit about it.
My brother's a dead man.
My friend Jerry said you guys were going to do something really neat today.
Balls to the wall nuts.